This video is going to cover the Essex Miniature Mark I from the 1940s and 1950s. I should start by saying I'm not an expert in using this machine. I originally bought it just because I thought it's cute, but I have noticed that a lot of them that are being sold at auction don't come with the user manual anymore. So I thought I'd make this video for anyone who's bought one of these, it doesn't come with a manual, and you'd like to know how to use it. Let's start by taking a look at the needle. So you can use the exact same sewing machine needles that you use in a modern sewing machine. However, the way you insert it has to be different. So if you take a close look at one of your sewing machine needles, you'll notice that at the top, it has a round side and a flat side. And in modern day sewing machines, we put the flat side facing away from us, so towards the back of the machine. But for the Essex, that flat side needs to go towards your right, so towards the hand wheel. Before you can put the needle in, you need to use a tiny screwdriver or some other small object to loosen the screw that's at the side there. You can ignore that bit of brown paper, only put that there just to distinguish the needle from all the rest of the shiny metal. So it's really easy to actually put the needle in the wrong way round, which I did just then. So if you start sewing and you're not getting any stitches, just look at the needle again and check you've put it in the right way around. And also push the needle all the way up in the needle bar until it won't go any further, and then you know it's up in the right position and you can retighten the screw. Okay, and now we're ready to start threading the machine. So place a spool of cotton onto the spool pin, and then we're going to thread from back to front. There are two holes there. It's a bit hard to see because of the reflection on the camera, but you'll be able to see on your own machine. Then we're going to take the thread down through this guide that's just to the right of the tension discs. It goes downwards and then just pull it towards you a little bit so it's firmly seated into that slot. From there, the thread then goes back upwards and through the tension discs from the top. The tension discs won't open themselves on these machines, so you have to just give it a helping hand with your fingers. Then bring the thread up through this guide here. From there, we're going to take the thread through the hole that's at the top of the needle bar. Keep bringing the thread down, and then it's going to go from front to back through the hole that's in this pointy section. Then all we've got left to do is thread the needle, which needs to be done from left to right. And you can put the presser foot down if it's easy for you to see the needle eye. One funny little thing about these machines is that because they're so light, they need a clamp to hold them to the table, because otherwise they move around while you're sewing. And the one I've got has quite a lot of marks from where it's been clamped down, so I use a bit of cloth just to prevent any more damage. Again, I've noticed that a lot of these that are being sold no longer come with the clamp, but you can get these sorts of clamps from DIY shops. They're just called G clamps. One last thing to mention before we start sewing is that the hand wheel must be turned away from you, so that's clockwise as you're looking at the hand wheel. So I'm going to read this part word for word from the manual because I think what I've done here isn't 100% correct. So lift the presser foot and place the thread in its slot, at the same time pulling the thread firmly away from you. Then lift the needle to its highest position and insert the material to be sewn. Pull the presser foot down and turn the handle clockwise. So if you do it as I did, it will still stitch, but I think it won't lock off the first stitch properly, because you can't back tack on these machines like you can with a lock stitch machine. I found that the Essex can do curves really well, but I've struggled to get it to do right angles. When you finish sewing, you need to make sure the needle is in its highest position, so if you need to, you can just turn the hand wheel a little bit until the needle is right at the top. So securing the last stitch is very different from any other machine I've come across. So to begin with, you need to pull about 2 inches of thread from the top where the thread goes into the needle bar. So just pull it to the left, and then there will be enough loose thread that you can get either a pair of scissors or a seam ripper and cut the thread as close to the presser foot as you can. If you need to, rock the hand wheel slightly backwards and forwards. That will help release the fabric. And there you are, there's a lovely little row of stitching. Here's a couple of examples of how the stitching might appear depending on your tension settings. Either way, it doesn't seem to make too much difference to how the straight stitches appear, but if you'd like to adjust the chain stitch, you can turn this screw lefty-loosey for looser stitches and then righty-tighty for tighter stitches. So looking underneath the machine, where the bobbin area would be on a lock stitch machine, you'll see that there's a lever on the right hand side, and this is actually to adjust the stitch length. So if you turn that to the right, the stitches will become shorter. But actually I find the stitches are already quite short, so I've kept mine all the way to the left to make them as long as possible. One very handy accessory your machine may or may not have come with is the extension table. This is very easy to slide on and off. There's a groove cut into it, which just slides along the metal needle plate. So the last accessory to talk about is the seam guide, which screws into a little hole to the right of the presser foot. You can line the guide up with the edge of your fabric, and that will help you maintain a straight seam allowance. Finally, here's a handy image from the user manual about the oiling points for this machine. You only need to use a tiny amount of oil, literally 1 drop per area. You can use any brand of sewing machine oil, Janome, Brothers, Singer, just as long as it is sewing machine oil. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If I've missed anything, or if you're someone who knows a lot about these machines and you have some tips, please let me know in the comments, and that would be a great help. Thank you.